What's up, guys? Hopefully, you guys can hear me. I am gonna do a live today. Okay, let me know if you can hear me and all that stuff. It's been a minute. Holy crap. How is everybody? And it's also Memorial Day. I don't know if we'll have all our regs here today. But yeah, I've been wanting to do a live for like a while now. And I just feel like I never have the time anymore, dude. Um, Things are going pretty good. Um, it's flying by, which has me a little nervous. It's going so damn fast. I think numbers have been pretty good. Um, like things are so crazy. I haven't even been able to like compare. So like right now, I'm gonna look at last May, compare it to now, and just for fun see. So our revenue is up compared to last May by 15K so far, and we still have what, almost a week left of this year. Oh man, I gotta keep finding my page here in case somebody posts something. So let me know if you have any questions. How is everybody doing? Let me know if you're on here and you've never chatted or anything. Just let me know. I want to know how everybody's doing. So I think so far we're probably doing better than we've ever have. But I've this last 2 years, this year and last year, I'm like crazy stressed out, guys. Like the stress is insane, insane. Actually, my watch this morning, while I was dealing with a customer, said that my heart rate was up to 120. um, I don't like being confrontational with customers, man. I just hate it. But like at some point, like why is it so hard for us to tell a customer we're not a good fit? You know what I mean? Like if we're not a good fit, we're not a good fit. Like, if there's any sense of like rift between a customer and the provider, like in normal circumstances, like if I have somebody come fix my water heater and they are like, I can tell it's not a good fit, I'm fine with that. If they were to say, hey man, we're not a good fit, I'll say, yeah, you're probably right. Okay, see you later. But it seems like every time I tell that to a customer, like they argue with me about me still doing work for them. And it's like, dude, what else do I have to say? Like, you know what I mean? And obviously, that's not always the case. I mean, there's been customers where, we said, we're not a good fit, and I never hear from them again. No reply. There it is. Um, Zian, what's up, man? Or, sorry, I don't know who it is, but I never chatted with you, so I don't know. I think I usually have guys on here, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's a guy's name. Sorry, I just messed that whole thing up, but what's going on? Good to meet you. Do you do lawn care, landscaping, anything like that? So I kind of got so those that don't know, I do full service landscape and maintenance. We mow lawns, we do fertilizing, we do sprinkler repairs. We will take out a whole yard, put a new one in. So like we do a lot of stuff, and I feel comfortable doing all that stuff. Like if I know that we can do it and do it good, I don't mind adding services on. You know what I mean? It's like the weird stuff. Like I won't put fences up. We don't do that. We don't clean gutters. Stuff that I don't feel like we're good at. I don't want to do. Um, recently, one of my teams put a retainer wall up, and it was the first one we've ever done. And the customer had the stuff on property and asked if we would put it up somewhere. And I'm not really sure how that sale went with the customer and the estimator, but next thing you know, my one of my workers, the crew lead, sent me a picture of it all done, and I was so impressed. I was so impressed. And then he showed me, since because he saw that I was really impressed, he showed me a bunch of pictures of them actually like with the level, with the string, doing the whole project, you know. So so yeah, when that happens, and you know, I have an awesome estimator. Obviously, you guys know Rachel; she's amazing. She knows me so good. So what happened was she didn't tell me about this job. She didn't tell me that they were going to do that, because if she did, I probably would have said, "Don't do it." You know what I mean? We've never done that, so let's just not do it until we're ready. But she just went ahead and did it because she talked to her team. So once I found out she did it, I asked her about it, and first of all I was like, "Thank you for not telling me, and thank you for doing it because it looks amazing. Like I'm so happy we did that." And she's like, "Yeah, I figured." And so what I wanted to do was just make sure they can do it because they. So I asked them because the homeowner asked her if she would do it. So what she did was instead of asking me, she asked the crew leader, "Hey, is this something you think we can do?" And he convinced her that he could. So so it got done. And so then anyway, next thing you know, me and Rachel are talking about like, you know, where do we get the product from? Because the homeowner had the stuff there. So so it is something that we're pursuing now that we know we can do it. Um, and and they say they can also do pavers, so they can lay pavers down on the floor or ground and that kind of stuff. And so what I'm hoping that we could do is find a small project and try it out. The other thing I kind of got into this year was water features. So I went to Cleveland to a training with Atlantic Owasa, and man, it was mind blowing, guys. It was so good. I think I've said that on another live too. Probably the last time I did a live, I talked about that whole thing. I so recommend it. So I came back wanting to do water features. So I had my marketing guy put it on the website, and I had my marketing guy like advertise for it. And believe it or not, we got we got a few calls to repair water features, not to install one, which I thought was interesting and more easier for me to get into. I would much rather repair a water feature at first than install one. So so yeah, I mean, I did obviously there's some learning curves, right? But I repaired a few and enough for me to feel pretty confident about it, you know? It's kind of funny because the first one I did, I realized that anyway, I did it and I felt good about it. But then the second one, I realized, oh, I should have did more on the first one. And then on the second one, I was like, oh man. And when I got the third one, I was like, oh man, I should have done more on the second and third one. You know, you just learn. You learn as you go. But yeah, the reason why things have been crazy stressful is last year. Remember, I had to buy the shop, and so we had to like make sure that our profit was just like the best it could ever be. So it had to be like profitable, but not just like profitable. It had to be very profitable for us to buy the shop. Everything was on the line. You know, the bank wanted to see our numbers. The bank also wanted a big deposit. And we needed to pay for things, and we still needed to make money and all that. It was crazy, but we did it. We did it. So so now we're getting the shop. We're building the yard with the garage and everything the way we really want. So that's going to take some money. And first, we're doing the planning. The planning itself is a whole freaking crazy experience that I was not expecting. But it is a learning experience. So with all these things, man, I'm just like, I feel like kind of out of my league a little bit, but at the same time, like I see myself learning and gaining experience and actually getting better at all this stuff. So the shop next door, it wasn't a shop, it was a property next door, right next door, that was up for sale. And the owners reached out to me and said they want to sell it to me. They don't want to like go through a realtor and all this stuff. They just want to sell it to me. And I was like, you know what? I don't know. I just bought this property 6 months ago. So I don't think I can do that, you know? Anyway, while I had them on while I had their attention, they had mine. We were talking about certain ways and what we can do. And guess what? I bought it. I freaking bought it. They made it super easy for me to do it. I had to say yes. So now I own this property, and then 6 months later, I own the corner property, which is like totally something we can expand to and open up eventually. Can't do it now because it's not zoned for commercial. So it's just something I'm going to have to go through. But going through this experience, I feel more comfortable eventually going through that experience, but doing that is going to require more planning with the city, with engineers and all that stuff. So I'm just kind of going to wait. But I have options with that property. I could sell it. I've already put new carpet in, painted it inside, and it looks so much better than it did before I bought it. So I have options. Eventually, I could make it into a parking lot and just have that be employee parking. I was thinking of having that as employee parking, but also like possibly public parking, because this is downtown city, like it's downtown, and things are growing around here, and it would be nice if eventually I could have paid parking there, but also allow my employees to park there. So that's one option. The other option is I could sell it. I could hold on to it for a few years and sell it, or I could expand this property and go into that one and just be an even bigger property, which probably makes the most sense, and that's why I bought it for with that in mind. But as my realtor was saying, I have options with that property. And so right now it's a rental. It requires some work. There's some work needing to be done. I was hoping that my workers would all want to move in there, but it was so bad just like a couple weeks ago when I bought it that they weren't really excited to move in there. You know what I mean? But now that I've got it looking really nice, they've already kind of made plans for this month, for the upcoming month. So they've already like, I don't know. It didn't go the way I wanted to, but I don't expect it to be fully functional with all the renters in there the first month. I've already got one renter in there, and he's already moved in and everything. So, it's going. It's slow going, but it's going. Anyway, that's kind of what's been going on, guys. I'm just kind of dealing with that kind of stuff. Um, Quality was my big focus this year, and it seems like that's not as easy as I was hoping. I was hoping that we would just drill quality into all our employees. And for the most part, I got to be honest with you. For the most part, 90% are doing great quality. But because we have so many customers, like the 2 to 3 employees that aren't like as experienced as the rest of the team, they do get some complaints, and it seems like a lot, even though it's only like 2 or 3 employees out of 18 crews. That's 18 different trucks going out there. So it's not that bad, but it's still stressful. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to lose any customers now. I don't want to lose any customers. So I'm trying my hardest. I've gone out and did my own quality checks, not as many as I would like. And probably my team would say, when did you ever do quality checks? But I have. It's just on the way home, on the way back, or in the middle of the day, I run out, come back. I've talked to more customers probably this year than I have, in not altogether, but I've talked to a lot of customers this year, more than I did last year. Talked to more customers this year already than I did the year before. So I'm talking to more customers because I want them to know that, like, I don't want them to leave. I want to do whatever I can to make it right with everybody. Um, Attrition, right? Keeping customers is basically something you need to do to really go past, the $2 million mark. You got to keep those customers. I listened to a talk by Brandon Dawson, who's like one of the guys from the 10X. Like, I'm not like the biggest 10X, fan. I love the thought of 10Xing. Like, I love that. I love the mentality of doing everything possible to 10X your business. That I'll always be a fan of. But I'm just not a fan of like the coaching stuff with 10X, which is fine. Like, I don't need to, like, it's just not for me, I don't think. But I do listen to their reels and stuff when it's on Instagram and stuff like that. And Brandon Dawson was giving this little, probably a really long talk, but I only caught like the first, or they clipped it, so it was only like 1 minute or something. And he was talking about how, like, out of all of the companies in the U.S., 96% are under 2 million. 96%, something like that. Don't quote me exactly, but it stuck with me. 96% of all the companies in the United States are under 2 million, meaning only 4% of companies are above 2 million. And I'm just like, wow, that really hit me because I've been at 2 million now for like 2 years, maybe three. Now, last year, I wasn't trying to grow. I was trying to maintain that and kind of lower my costs and raise my profit. That was what I was trying to do last year. That was intentional, and we did it. It was exactly the plan, and we did it. So I was very happy with that, and we got the shop, right? Our numbers were great. On 2 million, you can have a lot of profit on 2 million if your costs and labor are low, your labor overhead is low, meaning the people in the office or the people that are out in charge of the field workers, as long as that is low and your numbers are good and your expenses are low, like meaning like the fixed overhead stuff, like the bill, like the rent, mortgage, insurance, health insurance, car insurance, all that stuff is low, which I know those are hard to get low. I know that, especially if you're growing, right? I've got like all these trucks. I have 19 trucks with crews in them, with people in them. And then I have 5 more trucks for a total of 24 that are in the yard, that are still need insurance because one of them's a dump truck, one's the gas truck, one's the estimator, another one is the mechanic's truck, and the last one is the spare F-250. That's kind of like the spare for a garden job or something like that. So we have to insure 24 trucks, something like 22 drivers. So it's like, that's a hard bill to lower. It just is. I pay like, and actually, my insurance agent says I pay pretty low. I pay like 4,500 for that. But that one is one where every now and then I'll talk with my insurance agent and I'll say, hey man, can we lower that? Um, and then she gets to work. You know what I mean? She starts looking, or she'll tell me, this is actually a really good deal. This is a good price. So she did that last year. She saved me $10,000 a year 2 years ago, and we're still with that company, which is Travelers, which is really funny because during the COVID year, they dropped me. Travelers did for no reason. I had no claims, no nothing. I paying my bills, and they dropped me. They said I had too many service types, service offerings. But I guess that's not an issue anymore because if anything, I've gotten more service offerings now. Anyway, what else? So, but this year, I am trying to grow, and so that talk from Brandon Dawson saying that 4% of all the companies in the United States are under 2 million. The reason why companies break through that and get to like 3 million, 4, 5, 6 is because they hire like the right leaders. I think I'm really good at hiring team, like field guys, like technicians. I think I'm really good at that. Am I the best? No, I don't think I'm the best. And I say that because I think I can kind of listen to my team, hear my team saying, you know, you're not that good at hiring field guys because they have issues, right? But I think I'm pretty good at it. All right. Um, and I think I'm pretty good at hiring leaders too. Um, so that's kind of where we're at. The thing about hiring leaders, and some of you guys may relate to this. You got your right hand man, right? Your right hand person who'll do anything for you, right? And and they do that, and it's great, and you can rely on them. I have my people I can rely on today on Memorial Day. If I really need them to do something, they will. Like I have a good team. The thing is, sometimes that the company gets bigger than what your right hand person can handle. You know what I mean? And so the job they originally had is no longer the focus. Now they're trying to fix other problems, and it takes away from the core stuff that they were originally trying to hire. And then you say, well, that's why you gotta hire somebody else, but you gotta keep costs low. You know what I mean? Like I have gone through years where I've hired, oh, we need a new estimator, we need a new this, we need a new that. And then next thing you know, it's like your overhead, you're paying like $8,000 a week on just overhead. Actually, that's probably pretty low. I'm gonna see if I can, without going too far away. Yeah, okay. 8,000 is actually pretty good for overhead. Okay. Because right now, last week, we paid $9,000 on overhead, and I'm saying that's pretty low. I think that's low for our revenue. You know what I mean? Why did I stop posting revenue? Why did I stop posting videos? Landscapes by Focal Point. Man, honestly, I got no good excuse, dude. I just don't. I want to say I just don't have the time anymore. Like I want to do it. I want to do it. Like I feel like I can talk pretty comfortably. I feel like I love sharing my numbers and the way we do things, and I love hearing feedback too from other people and how they do things. Um, I just get caught up sometimes in my work, and it's like that takes all my focus. And that's always been the case. You know what I mean? Even when I was first married, I just like focused on work, focus, and then it's like, oh, I put my head up, and I'm like, oh, my family's doing something. Okay, but I got to finish this, and I get back to work. You know what I mean? So, and then I'm doing that instead of posting videos, which I should do. Like I love it, but I just don't do it. You know? So I'm hoping I get back into it. Like even this video, I've been wanting to post something like this for like a week now. and I finally got around to it. I'm just like, I'm just gonna do it. And I just did it. So that's that's what's happening. Let's see. I got some more videos, comments. It's hard to know I'm doing it now, and it's hard to be consistent. Yes, it really is hard to be consistent, But I remember there. I won't be name dropping people, but when I first started posting on YouTube, there was a couple other guys that were posting, and we had a similar amount of subscribers and things. And I focused on the business, and they focused on YouTube, and they have blown up. They have blown up. So YouTube is one of those things where if you really focus on it, like the more you put into it, just like anything, right? I mean, just like this business, if you put everything into this business, it will grow. And you put everything into your YouTube videos, it will grow. And even though I know that, I still don't do it. I don't know why. I don't know. And another thing, I was just kind of wondering, like, at some point, like, is there a whole new audience? Like, do I still have the same audience from when I first started doing YouTube videos? Or, obviously you get new audience people, but it's been a while, right? It's been like 8 years, I think, that I've been posting, and then super not consistent. So I'll go like almost a year sometimes without posting. And then I just wonder if I get back into it and I really do focus on it, is my audience going to be different? You know what I mean? I just kind of just thinking about that, just wondering if that's the case. But guys, things are nuts, man, and expensive. I'm trying to make sure all my trucks are branded right. So I just painted my third truck this year. I put it in last Monday, so it probably would have been ready, except it's a holiday, so I don't know if it's ready. But then once that one gets done, I have one more to paint, and it's the estimators. Man, it's not cheap, guys. It's not cheap, but return on something like that is crazy. Like, when you get a truck wrapped or painted and full of stickers, it's a billboard that works. It works. You probably get more customers off of your trucks driving around if you had a phone number on it than any other thing, than anything else. So many times a customer calls and we say, "Hey, where'd you hear from us?" And they say, "I saw your truck driving by," or "Your truck's in my neighborhood. Your truck is across the street right now. Can you guys do some work right now?" That happens a lot. So it's important, but it's expensive. It's like one of those things. It's kind of like you just got to commit and just get it done. Just do it. Um, and while we're busy, which is kind of like a double-edged sword, it's like this is a time I should be saving a bunch of money, but it's also the time that I'm able to buy all these things. But yeah, guys, it's pretty stressful, man. Back to the manager situation, like things are stressful for everybody. Like, so your right hand person, they get these new kind of responsibilities that become the focus, right? They become like really important. And that's why they now have those responsibilities. And then the main stuff, which is kind of like the basic stuff, because when you were smaller, the basic stuff was everything. It's everything. Quality checking, training, and those are all like still really important. But at one point, that was the most critical thing. Whereas now, at some point you start hiring people that come with experience. So the training kind of like is like obsolete a little bit, because you hire somebody who knows what they're doing, you check their work, and they're doing it, and it's like, okay, great. so some of that responsibility of the manager that had to do that is now like forced to, I don't know, talk to customers now, like do estimates, do some bigger type project stuff, some detail work to make sure their property is looking good, like maybe working on, I don't know, lights, like landscape lighting and stuff. And that person might now be like stressed out of their mind, but you as the owner are still thinking, those basic stuff is really important, but because you're at a new, like with me, I'm in a new, like, I don't know, like I got a lot more responsibilities now. I've got a lot of obligations that are like, important, but so the thing is you need to keep preserving your customers. So those new responsibilities that the managers have, to them it's like the most important thing, and you don't want to, like, you can't get too mad at them because they're doing the best they can, and you can't hire another person to maybe say, hey, look, these little basic stuff that are very important need to get done. So what I'm going to do is I've hired this person to take that off your plate, and they can now focus on that KPI, which is probably the best term, key performance indicator. Like all these managers have these KPIs, and maybe it's too much for your team who were with you and built this with you. So you can't get too mad at them because they got you here. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, but because I actually went to a thing one time, and somebody there asked me, like, what do you do with your staff who doesn't do, like, your managers that don't actually do what you need them to do? Like, what do you do? And I remember my response that day was like, I'm getting a complaint right now as we speak. So my reply to that guy was, well, unfortunately, you got to let him go. And then I was thinking about it, and it's just like, no, you can't. I was starting to think about, like, my team, like, if my managers, who are my right hand people, couldn't do a certain thing I needed them to do, I can't let them go because they do like 8 great things, and that maybe 2 things out of 10 things that they are supposed to do, they do 8 of them really good, and one of them, and maybe 2 of them, they just ignore, can't get to it, or do a bad job at it. So we'll say 20% of what they're supposed to do, they're not doing. I guess the better answer is trying to figure out who can do that job, like those 20% that manager can't do. I have taken something off one of my manager's plates, and I started doing it, and it's taking a big part of the day. It takes a big part of the day, and that manager, they can't do that because then they're gonna not be able to do a bunch of other stuff, and they do a lot of other things that are freaking amazing and great and perfect, and then they're trying to do this job that is a whole nother job. So I did talk to somebody. So I went on a mission one time, not mission, but I went on a journey to figure out this question. So I actually went to a conference one time with this question that I was asking so many people. Like, what are you supposed to do when your managers aren't doing that 20%? So what they say is like, the consensus I got was every division should have like a manager, which we kind of know this. And for every amount of revenue that division brings in, that's when you hire somebody else, right? So that's when you hire another person. So, like, for example, if my mowing division does $1 million in revenue, Once you hit that and you're doing more, you can hire another person, because then the percentage of that overhead is not so bad, it's not high, and you can still, like, now put more work on, split the work with more people in that division. My issue is, though, like, the problem is it takes me a whole season to get to $1 million in my mowing, right? Obviously we have ambitious goals and we want to get to more faster, but we're kind of needing, like, that million is kind of a high number to hire 2 managers, but anything lower than that, unless we're paying our managers really low, which you can't do, or they won't really take it serious, then we gotta, like, so that's my dilemma. And not only that, then we have winter time. So it's like, imagine if we do, let's say we do 1.5 million, and I could totally hire another manager, so we'll have 2 mowing managers. But it takes a whole year, like, and then it got wintertime. Like, what am I supposed to do in the wintertime? Just fire them? Like, so these are my dilemmas, guys. I gotta real quick try and figure out who mowed this lawn, so I could see if I can get them back out. And the problem is I'm using this phone as my camera, so I'm gonna have to try and text somebody. Let's see. So I'm gonna type in a customer's name and see who mowed it. How did they get a complaint? Those guys are good. Those guys are good. But they're also in a hurry. All right, let me see here. And I actually got, because it's a holiday, I've got 2 people in a mowing crew right now, so they can try and get more done. All right, let's see. Man, they did have a lot of jobs. They had a lot of jobs. I'm gonna text somebody so I don't have to bug a manager. I don't know if I have his number. Let's see. Come on. Yes, I do. All right, let's see. I gotta get the address. I gotta redispatch this job. Actually, I'm gonna redispatch it as a service call. One time. So I use Service Autopilot. I don't know what you guys are using. I wanted to use Copilot, but it wasn't ready this November, or actually it was October when I was trying to make the switch. But I just recently found out through a friend that it's much better. Is that the case? All right, so I've got this job on here. I'm gonna dispatch it, move it. They're gonna kill me too. They're gonna be like, dude, I don't want to drive all the way back there. I'm gonna put it at the end. I'm gonna save it there. All right, so one of our big complaints is that we are getting, like, the mowing is long. Like, they're not cutting it short. They're trying to cut it really high. Now I'm responding to the customer. Let's see if that will work. I really do want customers to be happy. I really do. I don't know why it's so hard. See, the thing that's a great tech too. Those are great techs. I think that's the first mowing complaint I got of him that I can remember um, this season. But we have some techs that are really good. Customers are saying like giving them tips, giving them food, like dessert stuff, and then we have some that are getting complaints, and so. But that's always going to be the case with this kind of work, isn't it? It's like if you mow hundreds of lawns a week. I mean, you're going to get complaints. Obviously, there's going to be some customers that you just can't make happy, and there's other customers who like are frustrated, and they're going to leave you any second, and they're just looking for somebody because they don't like to complain, and they just want it to look good. So anyway, guys, that's what's happening. What revenue are you guys at? Let me see if I can if I can look up what my revenue is. So last I checked, like I was actually kind of disappointed where with because things are so crazy right now that I thought revenue was like really high. You know what I mean? And our sprinkler division, we're doing about $40,000 less than last year, dude, in sprinklers. Um, that kind of that's really frustrating to me. That's really frustrating. There's so much potential in sprinklers, but it requires it's a division that requires a lot of work. Like it needs a dispatcher. It needs somebody constantly contacting the customers. It needs somebody finding the right day to put a job on, which is a dispatcher. And the dispatcher calls the person too. But then that division also requires like a lot of training, not just the technical stuff, but like when you arrive to a property, how do you check things, right? If the customer has a problem with the valve, you obviously need to check the valve, but then you still need to check the whole system because if you when you leave, the customer's going to be like, "Why didn't you fix that other thing that was while you were here?" It's one of those things where you have to do a lot of work so that the customers are satisfied. You know, a customer calls you and says there's a valve that needs to be replaced because sprinklers aren't shutting off or whatever. And you fix that job, you fix the valve because you know it does need to be fixed and you fix it. A lot of times it doesn't end there. Like if there's another issue, they point out a lot of stuff. Like a sprinkler doesn't pop up, but you guys were here. Why do I need to pay another $79 for you guys to come out just to fix that one thing when you guys were here already? You know what I mean? And our guys weren't looking for a sprinkler that wasn't popping up. They were there to fix a valve. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not blaming the customers either. This is all stuff that, you know, as my mission to want to be the best sprinkler company, I need to like take this in and learn from it. But it requires somebody who has the time, like in this company, to go out with the guys or at least have a real training session every day with a different tech or with the same tech or all of them or each, you know what I mean? They all require different things. I got a tech who just he doesn't refuse, but he just will not contact the customer. It's like, dude, you have to tell the customer that you're there. You have to tell the customer when you're leaving. It's not hard. You text them, you call them, you knock on the door, you tell the office, and we'll do that for you. But you gotta tell us, and they just won't. And then that causes all kinds of problems with the customers because, and I'm not saying that he does it every single time, but like, I'm just giving you an example of something that is frustrating me because there are times where my techs will not tell the customer that they're finished. And so the customer is left going, when are you guys going to finish this thing? And we're like, we finished it 3 days ago. And they're like, well, why didn't anybody tell me? I still have my timer off. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Stuff like that. And I can envision in my mind how I want it to be, but it's one of those things where I just don't have that person. And it's not like I just go, hey, I need a sprinkler manager, and then they just magically appear, right? Like, I have techs that are amazing, that can fix anything. I will put some of my techs up against anybody, and I bet you my guys will be better at the technical stuff. But I got some of those guys don't speak English, so they can't talk to a customer. They can't talk to my English speaker techs who don't know Spanish. Do you know what I'm saying? And then I got like my great English speaking techs who don't speak Spanish. Right now I only have one tech who doesn't speak Spanish, and I don't think he's the best. So, but I'm just giving you an example. All right? I'm just giving you an example. So it needs to be somebody who like is bilingual, who can teach the guys how to do all the jobs and talk to the customers, sell stuff over the phone. teach the techs to give expectations to the homeowner. That's the job. And then that manager needs to make sure all these jobs are being charged correctly. So it's like it's a full-time job. And I know we need that. But at this point, that division hasn't even made that much money. And it's like we're about to finish the second month. We should be, I don't know, we should be at 250K right now. I don't even know what that is. I need to like look for a really successful company that's a sprinkler company that's being run very professional. And I don't know any company that does that. I know people that say they're running the most professional sprinkler company, but they don't have parts on stock. So they're going to the store at every job. Like, to me, that's not very, you can still be very professional, but you're not at the highest level. And I'm not there either. I try to have all the parts. I don't have all the parts, but I have a lot of them. And we have our trucks in a way that we can store a lot of parts. But I still have a lot of issues. Sorry, I got a comment here. Let's see. Roy, what up, man? Good to see you, bro. I'm just here venting or talking and trying to let everybody know what I've been up to. But right now, my biggest pain point, which is not really a pain point, and I got it handled, but I got it handled a little late, was my sprinkler division. We should have been operating, at least the way we're operating right now. We should have been operating in like March. And so there's a lot of stuff. What's up, Adrian? Man, it's been a while, bro. Good to hear from you. Yeah, I miss doing the videos too, to be honest with you, but the last 2 years have been the most stressful. But my assets have grown like crazy in the last 2 years. In the last 6 months alone, I bought 2 properties, and things are going pretty good that way. But it's like stressful, guys. Because in order to pay like some of these big bills, like you got to have your company doing good, and so you need your guys to be great, and you need people to manage them, and it's like, whoo-wee. It's pretty stressful. But I guess I wouldn't have it any other way. You know what I mean? Would not. What's up, Michael? You're the man. Yeah, you're one of the guys that I like to. You and Roy, Ray. I was talking to Ray on text. You, Roy, Michael. You guys are guys I can call, and I appreciate that. And we talk about things, and and so I miss that too, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think things are pretty good, man. Things are pretty good for the most part. But I need to hire a sprinkler manager. And I've been working on that. I've been in talks with somebody. He came in for an interview, and he's on conversation and resume. He's perfect for the job. But you never know, right? You don't make look, dude. I don't want to. I don't. I'm not talking bad about anybody, but I hired somebody who had 10 years experience. Okay, on their resume. I mean, promise me they knew everything. Okay. So I sent them to their first job after I hire them because you know what? They were talking like they knew everything. But there were some signs. There were signs that I should have known, but I ignored it because he was doing the good talking, you know? Anyway, I sent him to a job and he knocks it out of the park. Kind of. He did great for his first job that he did on his own. So I was very, very impressed, very happy. So then I sent him to another job, and that's when I started realizing, okay, I don't think he knows everything that he says he does. So I sent him to another job. Same thing. And then it got to the point where it was like he pretty much worked a week without bringing any revenue. Like I was like, you can't do this. You have to do the jobs. You have to sell the jobs. So you can't just hire, like, can't go off of what people say. You gotta like see it. Which of course, like that's the way it is, right? Um, but then you could say, well, we could have trained him. He could have. So we did some training. We did some training, and honestly, there were some things that he was good at. But so I thought maybe we just send him all the jobs that he's good at, like that one service that we know he can do. Let's just send him to do all those. The problem is that that job wasn't coming up every day, and it's like, why would we have somebody do it? Like, why would I train somebody and spend money just training them when they lied and said they had 10 years experience? Like, uh, no. You say you have that much, back it up. And I want to see it. And you should be able to do the jobs, regardless of how you sell. Like, you should be able to do the jobs good. You know, I've had techs who were great at technician stuff, at fixing stuff, but were horrible at selling to the point where they would actually do the jobs for like $80. You know, like I've had a guy change a valve for $80. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. She was just like, she didn't have any money. She's on fixed income and this and that." And I'm just like, dude, do you realize you were at that job for 4 hours? I was paying you before you got to that job. You worked like a 10-hour day. Just paying you alone, just you alone was like $250 just for the day. You got gas. You know what I mean? You used the part, you used the valve and fittings and all this stuff, and you only charged her $80. So, but sometimes I let those things slide. I will still point it out. I'll still say something like, you know, I paid you all this money for the day. You bought gas, you did this, you did that, and you only charge her $80. Hey, thank you for fixing her problem. Thank you. But we didn't make any money. You know, I'm actually more okay with that because I feel like that might be something we can train. That person obviously knew how to fix sprinklers. They just didn't know how to sell. So I can work with that better than somebody who says they have 10 years experience and doesn't actually know how to work a stop and waste. You know what I mean? Or, you know, it's like, dude, at this point, I don't want to train you anymore because you don't know what you're doing and you said you did. I'd rather you come in here saying you don't know what you're doing, but you want to learn. I can work with that. Anyway, I'm kind of going on a rant here. But yeah, so we need a sprinkler manager. My only issue is, you know, I've talked to four candidates that I feel are great, that could be a sprinkler manager. The problem is the going rate for somebody like that is, it's pretty high, which during the regular season I'm okay with. It's the off season that I don't want to have stuck paying that when there's no work in the wintertime, right? We slow down in November. We don't have any work in December. We don't have any work in January and no work in February. So that's 4 months of paying somebody roughly $5,000 a month. So that's $20,000 just to keep them, for them to potentially leave in the spring and either do their own thing. I've had people sign non-competes. They still go off and do their own thing. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, is it that much? Like, to me, I wish everybody luck. And, you know, the people that have gone off on their own, even though they've signed a non-compete or whatever that other thing is called that I have them sign, it's almost more of a, I could call my lawyer and have them send whatever and do that stupid shit. Or I could just say, go out, you know, good luck, and I'll go off on your own and then see how hard it is. You know what I mean? You know, like, I think that's more of a pain for them than dealing with any court stuff. You know what I mean? I honestly, everybody that's left me has been on good terms, to be honest with you. Everybody. And I tell them that. And I say, look, man, you worked with me great. I'm good. Because what am I going to do? When they work for me, it's great. And if they're leaving in the beginning of the season, they obviously don't want to work here. And I don't want anybody to be stuck having to work for me. You know? If they don't want to work here, I don't want them here. They're just going to be checked out. They're not going to want to work. They're going to be disgruntled. So I would rather just wish them luck and let them see how hard it is out there. You know what I mean? And I do wish them luck. I hope they do great. You know, we just had a guy leave who was awesome. Was he the most, what do you call it? Was he the example tech the best example of a tech I've ever had? No. Is he the best example of what tech I want? No. He was just good at what he did, and he was a good tech. But he was not a good, I would say, leader or communicator, and which is fine. Great. Like, as long as you're a good tech, man, you can do great here. So, I don't know. You always learn, right? I lost a great tech, so I know what I need out of my next tech. And that's what I do. Adrian, do you ask situational questions in your interview? Have you tried to set up repair examples that interviewers can do? Yes, we have. We absolutely have. I have a little, what I call a training section, a training obstacle course here at the yard, where we have everything from a stop and waste, and it's all above ground, and it's all like installed, and it goes to different pipes, poly pipe, blue lock, PVC, and then all the different valves. Like, we have probably 8 different valves out there, maybe more. And then it goes even further. It's got drip system on there. We break pipes and have them put them together. We don't go as intense as we once did when we first did that obstacle course. We made that obstacle course in 2020. And that year, the manager that I had at the time, who I still am in communications with, because he's been with me for a long time, but it was time for us to part ways, and that was a blessing for both of us. He gave me all he could for as long as he could, and it was and I got everything out of him that I needed. And again, when you lose a good tech, you realize what you need out of your next good tech. And so we were at that point where it was like, you know, you got us this far. Thank you very much. You got paid. I gave you everything that you wanted, and I gave you everything that I could. And now I think we're both at our limit with what we can give each other. It's time to part ways. And that's what we did with Fernando too, who was my top landscaper. He gave me everything he could. I gave him everything I could. We skyrocketed this business together, and it was time where he had to go. He was like, I gave you everything I got. I need more. You can't give me what I need. Time to go. And it was great. I know what I need out of my next landscaper. I got him. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of how it is. And that's how I operate. It's like I see what I need. I try my best to give the most I can to get the most out of a worker, because I think that's important. Like imagine if I gave you like a guy as good as Fernando. Boom, threw him and said he has signed something where he is going to be your worker for a year. But let's just say, and this guy can do a lot of stuff. And let's just use him as an example, but you can do this with a mow guy, with a sprinkler guy, with any kind of worker. But I know for sure this guy gave me everything he had, and I gave him everything I could give him. But I knew that, so we scaled the business as much as possible, because it will end eventually. It will end. Like that worker can't go on forever, right? So market the heck out of that service. Put everything behind it. Put a manager in place on that team so we can just utilize that great talent as much as possible to skyrocket the business. So we did that. The problem with my sprinklers is I never found that type of worker. So to go back to my point, I don't know if I lost track here, but let's say we gave that great kind of worker to you, but you don't go after, like when that worker to you says, hey man, I need another helper. And you're like, I can't really afford another helper. You already have 2 helpers. You need 3. That's too many. But this guy knows everything that you need to grow your business, and you don't give him what you need. You're not utilizing that talent like you should. That worker might say, hey man, we actually need a dump trailer. And you say, no, I'd rather you guys dump it out with the shovels up when you get to the dump. It's like, no, but we waste like 3 hours doing that. We could just go knock it out and go to the next job and knock out another $5,000 job today. When those guys tell you how to run the business, you gotta listen to them. I know I'm kind of off tangent there, but that's kind of something that I think a lot of people don't realize. So I think I got a text or an email, and I want to see if it's one of those customers that I was trying to work with. Okay, well, I got a big email, and I don't know if that's the one that just came in, but I'm hoping that we can fix that one. Yeah, so I'm always mindful of workers that do that, right? That say, look, that are good, and you know they're good because you know they're good. You know good worker when you have one, right? You just know it. When those workers say they need something, you give it to them. And so one of those sprinkler applicants came to me with that in mind. And I made an offer. I did make an offer. And I wrote it down and sent it as an email so he knew what I said is there it is. I made an offer letter that I wanted to hold myself to. But for some reason, at the last minute, he stayed at his job and didn't want to, like it's another sprinkler company, and he didn't want to leave. But the problem with that kind of thing is like, I don't really know if he's good, but the seasonal questions that that I ask or situational questions, we do want to know like what things are called, right? So when I say, "Hey, so what kind of sprinkler jobs have you done?" They say everything. I already know they're full of crap, right? I want specific, and I'll tell them. I go, when somebody says everything, I kind of feel like they're full of crap. I need details. What exactly kind of services do you do? Oh, I do installs. I do repairs. Yeah, next. Let's move on. So I try my hardest to get these answers because, like I said, if I say to a guy, "What kind of sprinkler works have you done?" I've done everything. And I'm like, okay, but I kind of think people are kind of full of it when they say they've done everything and don't give me any details. So can you give me some details? And they say, honestly, I've always been a helper. I've never actually done the main work myself. I've always been with somebody, but I think I'm ready for a chance to prove that. I'll hire that all day. I will hire that. I had a guy like that, and I have a guy like that, and we just talked about it last week, um, where he was like, I was telling him about the people that we were hiring, and I had to let somebody go, or two people. We had to let two people go in the last 2 weeks because they just didn't know how to do things like they said, made it sound like they should know how to do it. And so I was telling him about that because he's like, "Hey, where's so and so?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he didn't really have the experience." And he said, I've always been honest with you. I told you when I was interviewing that I didn't know, that I knew how to do a lot of things, but I never actually did them myself. I've always had a manager who would never let me do anything myself. I was always the helper. But he's amazing. He's great. So I'll work with that. But you tell me you know how to do everything and then you don't. It's to me, it's like a put off. Like, I don't even, like, what else are you going to lie to me about? You know what I mean? So, anyway, guys, I know it's a weird topics today. I'm just kind of like getting back into it. It is a holiday, so I think I'm gonna head out soon. I did get into a fight with somebody here at work, kind of, sort of. I feel like I wasn't fighting, but I may have come off rude. So I need to kind of try and see if I can make that right. I do have this one customer that I probably want to call, and see if she'll take my call. A lot of customers nowadays don't answer phone calls anymore. They'll just text or email. But anyway, guys, go out there, make some money. When you got a great worker, listen to them. You know when it's a great worker. I'm not saying listen to somebody when you first bring them on. They just started working for you a week ago. Obviously, listen to them, but you don't need to like change your whole division based on that. But what you should do is once you have a good worker, when they say, "Hey, I need this, I need that," do it. So that may be the tie-in with Brandon Dawson, the talk that he was given, where he's like, "You need to hire good leaders." Um, but really, he said you need to hire good. He didn't say leaders or anything like that. And that is what I do when my workers say they need something to be, and they're good workers, and they say I need this to make my job better, to make it for the customer better. I do listen to them. There are some things that I can't listen, right? I think recently there was a worker who wants me to buy like a Bobcat, and it's like, dude, we don't do that many jobs, you know. Even if we made a killing off this one job with a Bobcat, I mean, we'll rent one, so that solved that problem. But I'm not gonna like go out and buy a giant Bobcat when we don't do that much work. When I've got other things that I could use my credit towards, you know what I mean? That we really probably more pressing than that. But you know what I mean? So you gotta listen. You gotta think of all these options that you're gonna need. But my point is, when a great worker says they need a helper, I would listen to that. Great worker says they need, a certain tool, I would definitely listen to that. Because if you don't utilize the talent while you have it, you're really going to be kicking yourself when you figure out how to harness talent, right? When you've got talent, you got to utilize it fast and with that short amount of time that you'll have with them. Because, for example, Let's just say I got a sprinkler guy who's the best. There's gonna come a year where he's gonna start the season and he go, dude, I don't know what's going on, but my knuckles hurt when I tie into fittings together. Like I don't know how much longer I can do this. Trust me, that's gonna happen. So while you have your good workers, that's your time to blow it out. You know, that's your time to knock it out of the park. But my issue is I have good techs, but I need a manager. I need a sprinkler manager, and I don't have that right now. So I'm kind of stuck doing it myself. But you see, I'm stuck doing it myself, and then I get an angry customer in another division that I've got to handle. You know what I mean? So it's like, which is fine. That's my job. I'm just saying, like, I can't focus on the dispatcher job when I've got all these other things that I'm supposed to be responsible for as the owner of the business, right? And I'm not an absentee owner. I do work. I try to anyway. And so I can't let something slide like that or say, well, somebody else is supposed to handle that, because if it doesn't get handled, who's it going to hurt at the end of the day? Now, I'm not saying I want to micromanage everybody. I don't do that. But it is a holiday, and I don't expect people to be answering the phone on my behalf or on Longthumb's behalf on a holiday, or trying to figure out how to get a worker to be better on a holiday. That's my job. So that's what I'm doing. And so the dispatcher that I need to hire needs to be focused on this, but I need to come up with something for the wintertime, man. So I do have some ideas for winter on what I'm going to do with some of these positions that are historically higher wage than, say a Mo guy. I do have some plans. I just haven't rolled them out yet because I don't know. I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to see how this year's going to go. Like I said, I had 4 guys that I think could do the job. One of them in particular doesn't want to work here in the wintertime. So that's like, whoa, I like that. But I've only did phone conversations with him twice, never actually met him, and I don't know for sure if he knows what he's doing, right? But he's talked, he's said things that I'm like, oh, he knows what he's doing. Like, I you know what I mean? You know it when you know it, kind of thing. But I could be wrong. The other guy, the other candidate, is great, but he definitely wants to work winter. But I do have some concerns with like how available he would be throughout the whole winter. So, you know what I mean? Nobody's perfect. I'm not going to find the perfect tech. I'm not going to find the perfect manager. I just need to find somebody who's perfect for our business. And I just got to keep looking, or I got to do it myself and possibly hire somebody to do all those other things that I'm kind of focused on, but I can't, right? I got to deal with the banks. I got to deal with the property stuff. I've got to deal with the city, working with that, trying to build this, the property to fit the code better and make it more functional for our business. So there's only so much that any position can do. So I don't know, but that's kind of where I'm at. Oh, I was looking to see what my revenue was this year. Sorry, guys. I went off track like I always do. But I think I can end it on that. So I'll find my revenue. Let's see here. I keep forgetting I have the phone as a camera. I better use another phone in the future. All right, so I'm going to do year to date. I don't know if it's going to do like at the beginning of the season. Yeah, it is. All right, here goes. We are at, let me see if I can get it kind of a pretty exact number here. I would like somebody to tell me what their revenue is on this live. So currently, right now, as of May 26th, we are at 634,000. I don't know how I feel about that. So let's say we end the season, or sorry, end the month with a week left, right? There's a week left. I'm going to pull up a calendar. So we've got this full week all the way to Saturday. And we usually work on Saturdays now. Let's just say we bring in another $50K. So we still have today. Like there's still guys out working today. So we haven't made all the revenue today. So let's see if they actually finish today. I'm going to see what's left. Okay, so there's 2,000 still on the board. So let's say, so plus 2,000. Okay, and then we end this, let's see, calendar. Let's just say 60K comes in the rest of the end of Saturday. So close to 700. Close. So that means by the end of June, so let's see what we did last June. Ooh, I went way far. June. Okay, so last June we did 224K. So let's just say we do what we did last year. 919, almost 100, 920. So we won't hit 1,000,000 in June unless we have a bang in June, which we could. No, we'd have to do, so 80, 224,000 plus 80,000. So we'd have to do 304,000. I'm gonna see if we had a $300,000 month last year. 340, or sorry, 240. Sorry, not 340. 240. I think 240. Let's see, what did we do in March? I feel like March was a good month last year. No, it was not very good. April? 245. So that was our highest month last year. So we've already done 20,000, 30,000 more this year than last year. So we could do quite a bit. There's a chance we hit 1,000,000 in June, but I don't think so. It'll probably be July. And then we'll have all of July, all of August, September, October. Yeah, it's looking like another $2.2 million year. Unless Sprinklers goes bananas, okay? That's the difference maker. That is what's going to put us to 3 million, is if we can get a handle on Sprinklers. I really believe that. So last year, so I do track Sprinklers, but I don't, it wasn't at the top of my mind like it is going to be this year. Just because we do need to make money on that division, you know what I mean? But that's gonna be the big one. And truthfully, we haven't really, Sprinkler division really started, like Sprinkler time happened like 2 weeks ago, and we've been doing pretty decent for the last 2 weeks. So I feel like we're still at the beginning of Sprinklers where we can totally still save it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what's going on, guys. Let's see, 633K as of right now. Am I happy? No. If you could, I was hoping we'd be like 8 to 1 million at this point. That's what I was hoping. And there's probably some really good numbers guys watching or whatever. They're like, well, you should already know based on projections and this and that. And I get it. We have done projections in the past, even for like future years, for like, hey, this is how many trucks we're going to need. So our mowing is this revenue. This is how much we're going to need for fertilizing for this revenue. The problem this year is, anyway, there's some problems in the mowing for sure that I've got to figure out. But things are going pretty good for the most part. At the end of this report, I will let you know I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. These couple of complaints that I've got, knock on wood, it could be much worse. Knock on wood. I'm just trying to make every customer happy, which is what we're all trying to do. But that's what's kind of stressing me out right now. Just those little few customer complaints, I'm just not thrilled with. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. It looks like we did an hour and 20 minutes, so I'm gonna let you go. Peace out. Talk to you later.